Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Mikhail Peters. I'm going to try and do this video before my friends come, before I take a nap, and before I have to start working. I went to the city center this morning, which I guess is kind of what I'm going to talk about a little bit today, and whatever else I feel like talking about, honestly. As usual, I've got the whole laundry thing going on behind me because I've just recently gotten back to my apartment a couple days ago. And usually I'm traveling without a washing machine, so there's always that. And then I'm also just doing laundry because I have guests coming and whatnot, so sheets and all that. Luckily, I have more than one pair of sheets, but yeah. So I guess I'll just actually talk about my last 24 hours. I was cleaning yesterday, went to have lunch with a couple of my friends who are both actually, I think one's fully finished, but the other one's half finished, whatever. They're more on the international side, let's say. And I was talking to the one friend. I was like, yeah, last time I saw you was December. He's like, wow, it's been that long. And I'm like, I mean, yeah. But I was just like, sometimes I just want to stay inside and not go anywhere. And he's like, don't do it, because he's like, I've noticed that the more that I do that, the more that I have social anxiety when I go out into public. And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. And I was like, I don't know, just sometimes I'm afraid of running into people, and then I just don't want to explain to people what I'm doing with my life. Yeah, I don't know. But it was just funny. And then we talked about, we talked about a bunch of stuff, honestly. Housing market stuff, job market stuff, autism. I don't know. No, but it was fun. And then because I pretty much it's very weird. In the US, I pretty much only have female friends, and in Finland, I only have male friends. And it's just the thing I enjoy about having male friends is that they're funnier than females. This has to do something with men think that, this is subconscious too, men think that showing how funny they are indicates how smart they are. That's actually a thing, you can look it up. But yeah, so whatever. Then I worked, went to bed kind of late. My little sister got Snapchat, and so now I can talk to her every day, and that's one of the best developments of my life. I'm like, oh, it's so cute. Now I get to talk to her without having to be home. Yay. Yeah, so I guess that's the thing is sometimes I feel really bad admitting that I feel really good the further I am away from home. And this isn't the first time I figured this out. I actually figured this out when I was in Kyrgyzstan for the first time in 2017. Actually, I figured that out when I was in Texas too, even though Texas is not that far. I mean, it's still in the US. I'm just not a big US lover, as we know here. Yeah, and it's I really am here just wondering, why am I forcing myself to be there when I don't want to be? And I'm just money, and then I'm but how much money do I really need? I don't know. These are the existential problems I start facing when I just, walk around town by myself. So yeah, I just have a really nice time being by myself, and I'm just chilling, and then, I'll interact with some people later, planning to have a party tomorrow, a dinner party, sit-down dinner party. I think I invited too many people, and I hope I have enough chairs. Actually, I should have enough chairs. Now the food is going to be the issue, but whatever. So, yeah, these are all the things that are happening, and it's just it's sort of a remnant of my old life that I had here previously that I actually enjoyed. So, yeah, also, there's nice weather today. It's sunny for once. I guess these are all the things that are going on there. I'm just I'm just vibing, even though I'm so tired. I'm literally going to take a nap after this. Yeah, because I had to wake up and go very early to an appointment. And I honestly just really, yeah, as I've kind of explained, I'm trying to figure out whether to take care of some healthcare stuff here or in the US, and I'm trying to figure out the cost differential and all that. And the very bizarre thing about the US is even if you have health insurance, it's still very expensive. It doesn't even make any sense. It actually makes no sense. And people are oh yeah, I've seen these YouTube videos about the one that my friend told me yesterday was this guy had a bill. Then when they ran it through his insurance, it ended up being more money than if he just didn't have any insurance on it. Believe it or not, I think that can be possible, even though it sounds stupid, but I'm pretty sure it's true. And then sometimes I think you can ask them to remove it, but I'm not entirely sure. It's just then it won't go against your deductible, blah, 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 whatever. So, yeah, but I had a nice time at the doctor's. I think one of the other differences is they just don't really rush here. In the US, it just feels like, time is money. So it's like everything is so fast and so expedient. Although then I did have to go get some blood work, and then I had to be like, hey, I'm going to be late for my other appointment in the city center because this appointment's running 10 minutes behind schedule. So can I come back later? And instead of that, they're like, oh, they just go and hurry the people up. Because when the woman this morning was booking it, she's like, do you have enough time? I'm like, it takes like 5 minutes, right? I was like, yeah, probably. But then they were just, chilling in there. I don't even know what they were doing. Whatever. So then that worked out. And then I got to my other appointment on time, even though my other appointment, was running 5 minutes late anyway. So it was fine. But whatever. Yeah, it was kind of a little bit of a mad dash. But yeah, I just enjoyed it. Like, it's just, yeah, I think it's just the lack of like urgency and just like kind of being really chill. I mean, the appointment I had this morning, there was no like urgency about it. I'm trying to think of an actual medical instance where there is urgency. I guess if you like, fell and hit your head and are gonna have a concussion, okay, that's different. Something time sensitive, I guess. But like ongoing things, let's say, it's like not urgent. So I don't know. I just like I had that, and then I had some other errands I needed to run in the city center. I just felt like everybody was really chill and nice, and I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. It's like I can just go in public and enjoy all of the random interactions I have with people because they're not stressing out all the time and pissing me off, which is honestly kind of how I feel in New Jersey sometimes. Yeah, I'd say yeah. And it's like I am very acclimated and adapted to that culture because I've grown up in it for like, over 20 years, but nah, it hasn't been over. It's been about 20 years, whatever. But yeah, it's just like, I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, I think that was kind of what hit me today. Like, what am I doing not being somewhere I actually want to be? And it's like the life is short thing. But then it's like this internal struggle between like, I feel really bad sort of, like abandoning is a strong word, but yeah, like abandoning my family. Ugh, that sounds really bad. I had to switch chairs because the other chair makes too much noise when I'm wiggling around and talking. But yeah, I think that I just feel like, okay, yeah, my brother one time was like, the problem is instead of working on the problems that we've had within our family, you have just run away constantly. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to deny that part of it's running away, but I'm like, I didn't just like randomly go to other countries. I was always on a scholarship. Like I worked very hard to get these very prestigious scholarship things where I got like a lot of money from the US government to go be abroad and study these things and bring back the education and whatever to our country. Like, so I just think that's kind of dumb, like that statement a little bit. And, like, one of the things that I have been told this by multiple friends, but I was talking to my other friend when we were on this trip, and she's like, nobody owes you anything. And that's like including your parents at a certain point, right? And it's like, that's what my mom said too. She's like, until you're 18, your parents need to clothe you and give you a place to live and give you food. And then beyond that, like, it's not really their responsibility. And so I'm just sort of like, okay, then is it really my responsibility to keep living a life that I don't want to live just to make other people happy? And then you realize, like, you can't really make other people happy anyway, so it's like, why am I trying? Yeah, so, I don't know, it's just, like, getting really existential even while I was running all these errands this morning, and I have a lot of things to do, and I really need to take a nap because I'm getting to the point where it's, like, I just feel so spacey. I do that a lot sometimes if I've been working on something, and I'm like, nothing productive is going to get done, so I need to take a nap. But yeah, I'm appreciating the nice weather today. So I feel like I had something else to this. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I'm working on right now is trying to feel like I don't hate people. And I remember, like, I had one friend here who said this to me, and I like, people don't really like that statement, right? People are like when you say that, kind of like, oh, that feels really evil. And like, I get that. And I literally Googled recently, it's like, how do I get my heart to be unhardened? And it's like, you have to spend time with people who make you not feel like your heart has to be hardened to just be around them. And that's really hard. Like, I'm trying to think of people that I don't feel that way around even a little bit. And like, the closest thing I can think of is these random people who I interact with in the city center. I don't know, like, maybe, again, it's like maybe I'm the problem. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty delirious, so this video is not going to make any sense. But Yeah, it's just the existential ranting of, this is what happens. Like, you come to Finland and then you start thinking a lot and you're like, crap, I have so much time to think about my life and what's going on. And I'm like, how do I not have this time in the US? And I'm like, just feels like everything's on autopilot because there are so many things that are demanding your attention. Whereas here, it's like, there are a lot of things that are kind of reduced in that capacity. Like, I don't drive a car here. I don't get a lot of random junk mail, like physically in the mail. I know it's a stupid example, but that is one of the things that happens in the U.S. People try to sell you stuff a lot. Everything's about selling you something, and then everything's expensive, and then you're trying to figure out ways to save money, but it barely works. And then you're trying to stay in your house, but then your house is big, and then you have a lot of crap because all Americans do. And I don't know. Like, I kind of had this thought. I remember when I was studying, and I was like, I feel so good here emotionally. Like, maybe I should just abandon all my crap in the U.S., like my material objects, and just stay here forever. Like, I had that thought, and like, I'm kind of having that thought again. Yeah, it's just like how I feel. And then you're like, should I listen to how I feel or should I listen to like logic? And then I kind of had this other thought where I was like, you know what? I don't think that any decision that anybody has ever made has ever been completely logical. So I'm going to reference again the Psychology of Money book because I feel like this book is more than just about money. Like, I mean, yes, it's about psychology also, but one of the things that it was talking about is that people are so impacted by their own personal experiences. And it can be so hard to tell somebody to just behave rationally and logically. But when they have like, let's say trauma, the book doesn't use the word trauma, around something, right? Like it's talking about, for instance, people who are more willing to invest in stocks versus bonds because of how they've seen the stock market go in their life. And as they've gotten older, what are they willing to do with their money? Now, I know there's also the whole thing about, you can be riskier the younger you are. It doesn't necessarily talk about that. It just talks about different strategies and how the strategies are going to look different based on what the person was exposed to financially growing up, right? Like, did you have a housing market crash? Did you have some other sort of crash? Were things really prosperous? Were people able to take out a lot of debt? Were there consequences to that? Like, what is your relationship with debt? And like, how was that growing up? Like, what did people around you tell you about it versus like, what was the general kind of notion during the time about debt? So I don't know, like, that's a lot of what goes on here. And so I guess I kind of started thinking about like my own experience, and I just like my experiences being abroad just feel significantly better than my experiences being in the US. And it's like, I can deal with living in the US, but I'm just sort of like, do I want to? And then there's like, again, a sense of guilt around like, well, but then I'm leaving my family. Like I feel so bad about that, even though it's like, they kind of get upset because I'm like miserable. And I'm like, well, I just don't like being here. I don't know. And then I started thinking also it's like natural, like it's just like such a dumb example, but if you have, I'm not even gonna say friends, if you interact with people and you don't like interacting with them, you're gonna avoid them, right? That's a decision. What if you need to interact with them because it's gonna help you get promoted at work? Well, then maybe you're gonna find a way to deal with that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is an issue I have at the restaurant, right? Like, I was telling my one friend about this. He's like, well, you should learn how to interact with people better at the restaurant because then it will result in you, getting paid more. I'm like, but my customers pay me, not my coworkers. The only thing is, like, if you, are more favorably liked, whatever, sometimes you can get better sections, which yes, could result in more money, but that has nothing to do with your performance. And a lot of times, like, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody makes really like that much more. Maybe only like literally 2 other people are consistently making more money than me. Everybody else, it's kind of a crapshoot. So not worth it, because I'm never going to be in the position of those other 2 people because they're a lot more grandfathered in than me. I'm going to put it that way. Even though I'm pretty up there in terms of grandfathered inness. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's like I've got like a month here, and I'm just like, man, it's going to go by really fast, and it would be sad to leave. And then I'm like, And then, then I start having these feelings of, can I just throw all my crap in a storage unit and then just like be nomadic in the U.S. and then just come to Finland, or can I look for a job here? And then people are freaking me out about the job thing. I don't know. Like, I think it's normal to feel this way. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of indecisive rambling. It's like, yeah, it's like, it's sort of like all the alternatives I'm being presented with I don't like. I'm going to put it that way. So, like, for instance, like, my grandparents are like, you can come live with us, but that's not really working because my grandmother doesn't really want to clear space for me. that's really messed up, but like that's kind of one of the struggles. Or I could go live in another state and then the only person I know there is my aunt. The reality is I'm really good at making friends, and like lots of people want to be my friend, and I'm not even saying that to like try and be a jerk. It's just like I literally feel like I don't try to be friends with people and they just want to be my friend. And like I think something I started realizing today is like I'm so introverted, like in a way that like I don't express well to people, because people are just like, oh, I'm so social, oh, I'm so good at talking to people, like I must love talking to people. Like no, sometimes, but like a lot of times it's like I want to take care of myself first. Like I want my house to be clean, I want my chores to be done, I want like to work on my own tasks that I enjoy, and like those things, I want to do those things more than I want to be social at this point in my life, and just most of my life, right? Like I think I had sort of this stint of time when I was living here where I was spending more time with people and being more social, and I called it sort of my relationship experimentation phase, like in the sense that like I actually put a lot more effort into my relationships and my friendships and stuff, but then I felt like it didn't even really matter, because it did that whole weird thing where it was like you were BFFs and then it wasn't sustainable, so the relationship crashed and died, and I'm like not willing to do that anymore. So I feel like I just want everybody like very arm's length away, and having like, lots of friends who aren't as close as opposed to a few who are close. It's just which makes you seem extroverted, right? But like a lot of times I just want time to myself. So I don't know. Yeah, this is, again, just very ranty. It's just kind of, I think what starts to happen when you're here is like maybe you have more time to just reflect on yourself and what you like and what you don't like and what you want and what you don't want. And like sometimes it's really painful, because when you're running on autopilot for so long and you're just doing what you think everybody else is expecting of you, that's easier than being honest with yourself. Like that's very hard. Being honest with yourself is very, very hard. In fact, I don't think most people can ever do it 100% in all situations. It's not possible, because people live in societies and people have to, behave in certain ways to be accepted by society. It's like it's a very fine line / balancing act kind of thing to like meet the needs of both of these situations, and it's impossible to meet the needs of each of them perfectly simultaneously. So I don't know, it's like, going back to the alternatives, like going and living in like a place where the only person I know is my aunt, and going and living in a place where like the only person I know is my friend. Like it's hard, because it's like my life is in New Jersey in the US, or it was near Texas. Like I did live in Houston, like I had a life there, right? But then I've also had a life like here in Finland, and I think I'm at a point where I don't want to keep making new lives. Like I've made lots of new lives. I have a life in Armenia, I have a life in Kyrgyzstan, like I still have friends there, I could still go back to some sort of routine there. But restarting, and it's not like it's hard for me, it's really not, just I don't want to, right? Like maybe it's how I feel about learning Finnish. Sometimes I'm like, it wouldn't be that hard, because I'm really good at languages, but at the same time I'm like, it's like just work and I don't feel like doing it. Like it's sometimes there's work that's easy for you but you don't want to do it. Like that happens. I don't know. The storage unit thing is becoming more appealing, or I'm like, do I try to just live in an apartment for like less than a year and then just be like, screw it, I'm going back to Finland? Like this is what I really can't decide, because it's sort of like it's already been decided. It's not like I decided, it's been decided, right? Like my mom and my dad decided this for me, like I'm still a child, that I'm going to live in this one particular place. And I tried so hard to get out of that controlled feeling straitjacket of a thought that, I have to live in this place because that's been decided already for months. I was like, I'm going to try to buy something, I'm going to look at other stuff. No, still that. So I think that's part of the issue too, is I feel like this decision, it feels very controlled, but then it's like at the end of the day, you can't control people. I'm like, okay, then can I just do the crazy person thing and throw all my crap in storage and then just not be there? I'm thinking more about it, not gonna lie. Yeah, so I don't know. I gotta figure out all my crap, just like we all do. And people really are uncomfortable with this whole indecisiveness, and it's like, that's life. Like, life is full of indecision. Although there is a thing where you have more indecisive issues if your parents never let you make your own decisions growing up because you don't trust your own judgment, and blah, blah, blah. You can Google, that's a psychology thing. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel really good, even though I'm alone right now, which is actually good, right? It's good to feel good alone. one thing I thought about as I was walking home yesterday from the university and had time to think, as usual, was like one time I had a friend here who was like talking about basically like chronically feeling empty. And I just remember being like, that's not normal, right? And he's like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, I was like, nothing. But that is kind of, I knew what he meant by that, to be honest, because that is something I struggled with a lot when I was living here. And I guess and I'm not going to say that I never have that feeling. I think it's just right now I'm working a lot and I'm so exhausted I don't have time or energy to have that feeling. But I know what it's like, and maybe that's one of the fears I have, is that feeling will come back if I were to just like be here all the time. And whereas in the US you're like too distracted to feel anything. It's sort of like you're numb. I feel like numb and angry at the same time, whereas here I just feel kind of like understimulated and zen. Yeah, it's really great. Like, I have a view of some trees right now. I'm so happy. Like, where else am I gonna get this? Nowhere. Yeah, so, I don't know. It's like just that really hard conversation you're having with yourself, being like, I really just want to disappoint everybody to make myself happy, but that feels so selfish. And then I already get called selfish on top of all this for, I'm not even really sure what. Yeah, I did get called selfish recently by my family, but the context of it didn't make sense, so I don't remember it. Yeah, I don't know. Does traveling make you selfish? Does connecting with people and exploring the world make you selfish? I don't know. Good question. You can drop your answer in the comments below. What makes you selfish? Like, never considering anybody's needs before your own, I guess. But that's not really what I'm doing. I'm just trying to consider the needs in balance, right? And I have sacrificed a lot of not doing what I want to do, like, for other people, or like my dog's being alive for a long time. Like, I kind of feel like I can, like, let go being at home now, because and my sister has Snapchat. That was another reason I stayed at home for a long time. So now I can talk to her on there. So really, there's no reason to be there. It's a harsh reality. And I'm like, maybe I should just apply for jobs in Finland and then see if somebody will hire me. And this is a non-issue at that point. I don't know. I'm going to think about it. So, yeah, you can drop your comments about that also below. Is it true that the Finnish job market is as bad as people are saying it is? Because that's all I hear from people, but also all my friends are still students, and not all of them. I have some friends who work here. I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to know your opinion on that, please. Let me know. All right, well, that's everything. I'm going to go take a nap and stop ranting. All right, thank you. And until probably next week. All right, bye.